I used to be a Weird Warriors kid. Now I'm a Weird Warriors adult. Each week I'm discussing a chapter of the iconic books by Aaron Hunter. My name is Charlie, and in today's episode I will be talking about Chapter 5 of Book 1 of the series The Prophecies Begin, titled Into the Wild. Join me on this adventure into the world of warrior cats. So starting off with the chapter art, it appears to be a cat looking at the viewer through some leaves and plants. I'm assuming this is supposed to be Tiger Claw, but I'm not 100% sure. The chapter starts off with Graypaw waking up Firepaw, interrupting his dream of chasing a squirrel up a tree. And I decided at this point I want to start a log of all the dreams that appear in the Warrior series as I go through this, which is going to be a lot. So I might have to go back. Luckily, I'm only at chapter 5, so there's not much backtracking to do. But I just think it would be interesting to see all the dreams that appear in the series. Graypaw says, training begins at sunrise. Dustpaw and Sandpaw are already up. And Firepaw remembers that today is his first day of training, so his drowsiness evaporated as excitement surged through his veins. Graypaw says that he just spoke to Lionheart, and Ravenpaw won't be training with them until he is healed, and Dustpaw and Sandpaw are on hunting duty, so Graypaw and Firepaw are going to be training with Lionheart and Tigerclaw this morning. Now, throughout this chapter, I'm going to be referring to this map a lot in the front of the book because they talk about the geography, I guess, of their territory a lot in this chapter. So, for example, they say that Graypaw led Firepaw quickly through the gorse entrance of the camp and up the side of the rock-strewn valley. I do not see a rock-strewn valley on the map. It says Firepaw felt fierce joy well up inside him as he followed Graypaw down a tree-shaded slope and into a sandy hollow. Now this sandy hollow is on the map. Tigerclaw and Lionheart were indeed waiting, setting a few tail lengths apart on the sun-warmed sand. Now I find this interesting that they have like a landmark in ThunderClan territory that is a sandy hollow, because I think of ThunderClan territory as like fully a forest. So when there's like a whole section that's just sandy, I think of like desert. It's probably not actually like that because they get plenty of rain, but I don't know. It just is interesting to me that they have a whole section that's just sand. Tigerclaw says, in future I expect you both to be punctual. And Lionheart says, hi Lucky. Lionheart says, don't be too severe, Tigerclaw. And that sentence I can totally hear in like a British accent. Don't be too severe, Tigerclaw. It was a busy night last night. I expect they were tired. Hi Lucky. You want to be part of the podcast? Yeah. You're so cute. And then here they do clarify. Lionheart says, you have not yet been assigned a mentor, Firepaw. For now, Tigerclaw and I will share your training. So that clarifies what I was confused about there. Tigerclaw says, today we are going to show you the edges of our territory so that you know where you will be hunting and what boundaries you need to protect. Graypaw, it won't do you any harm to remind yourself of the clan's outer limits. So Firepaw scrambles after them as they all take off. They pause as Tigerclaw sprays his scent on some ferns, and Lionheart says there is a two-legged path here. Use your nose, Firepaw. Can you smell anything? And Firepaw can tell that a two-leg has walked his dog along here, but they're gone now. And Lionheart says, "Good. Do you think it is safe to cross?" And Firepaw can tell that the odors are weak, so he says yes. And Tiger Claw nods, and they cross the sharp stones of the narrow two-leg path. So I guess a sidewalk. Now I'm trying to see where they are on the map, and I can't quite tell. It might be this border around the tree cut place that they're crossing, because I think that's where they're headed next. Yeah, it says the trees beyond were pine. They grew tall and straight, row after row. Tiger Claw says, "Two legs put these trees here. They cut them down with foul-smelling creatures, which spew enough fumes to make a kit go blind. Then they take the fallen trees to the tree-cut place that lies near here." I'm wondering if this is a Christmas tree farm, because the map makes it kind of look like that. And I thought the tree-cut place was referring to all of it, all of this whole section, but he says the tree-cut place near here, so I think that is like the actual building where they cut the trees. It looks like there's little piles of cut wood there, so maybe this is like a lumber yard or something. It also is next to people's homes, so that does seem like it would bother two legs as well. But Graypaw says the tree cut place will be silent for a few moons more until the time of Greenleaf, which kind of confuses me, because if it is a Christmas tree farm, you'd think they'd be busiest in Bareleaf, which that's winter, not Greenleaf, which is summer. So not quite sure. Now it does look like there's a fence around Tree Cut Place, so I'm wondering if they're even within those boundaries yet, and if that border I was talking about is the sidewalk that they even crossed. Maybe they're still on the outside of that section, and the pine trees just aren't pictured in these woods. I'm not quite sure, because it didn't mention them going over a fence or anything, but it says they padded on through the pine forest. And then Tiger Claw says, "Two Leg Place lies in that direction. No doubt you can smell it, Firepaw. Today, however, we will head the other way." So we do see Two Leg Place, which, if that is where Firepaw came from, now I'm confused how he even got into the woods to go to ThunderClan, unless this house in the corner was his, which is closer to the woods, while the other section is right next door to the Tree Cut Place. So I'm just trying to picture how he was able to look into the forest when he jumped the fence and went into the woods. So it must have been on that side. Eventually they reached another two-leg path that marked the far edge of the pine forest. They quickly crossed over into the safe bushes of the oak woods beyond. But Firepaw still sensed anxiety in the other cats. "We're approaching RiverClan territory," whispered Graypaw. "The Sunning Rocks are over there." Now we see RiverClan Camp and Sunning Rocks on the map, but I'm just trying to picture what their path was. So they started in the Sandy Hollow, then they go down, cross a sidewalk, see near the Tree Cut Place, cross another sidewalk, and go towards Sunning Rocks. Okay, I guess that makes sense. And Firepaw felt his fur stand on end. This is where Redtail had been slain. Lionheart stopped by a flat gray rock. This is the boundary between ThunderClan and RiverClan territory. RiverClan rules the hunting grounds beside the Great River. So I'm wondering, it says beside the Great River, so is it everything on that side of the Sunning Rocks? Or is it just this section down here? I guess south of the Sunning Rocks. But it did say beside the river, so I guess it extends all the way up. Yeah, I think... Oh yes, he says, "We'll follow the boundary line as it leads straight to Four Trees." Okay, but Firepaw can smell the unfamiliar cats. He was surprised by how different it smelled from the warm cat scents of the ThunderClan camp. And he was also surprised to realize just how familiar and comforting the ThunderClan scent seemed to him already. "That is the smell of RiverClan," Tiger Claw growled. "Remember it well. It will be strongest at the boundary, because their warriors will have scent marked the trees along here. With these words, the dark tabby lifted his tail and sprayed his own mark on the flat rock. Then they follow the boundary line up towards Four Trees, and Firepaw asks, "What is Four Trees?" Greypaw says it is where the territories of all 4 clans meet. There are 4 great oaks there, as old as the clans. And Tigerclaw says, "Be quiet, don't forget how close we are to enemy territory." So they walk silently, they cross a shallow stream. Okay, I think that is on the map here. Yes. It says they keep their paws dry by leaping from boulder to boulder across the pebbly riverbed. It was sun high now, so now it's already midday. So it took them from sunrise to noon to cover half of the territory. So it looks somewhat like a small scale on this map to me, but I guess it took them several hours to cover that territory. In dazzling sunlight stood 4 enormous oaks, their dark green crowns reaching almost to the top of the steep slope. So below, I thought that was interesting, below is 4 trees. They're looking down on these gigantic trees. So I'm confused because on the map I don't see how they're like on a ledge or a steep slope or anything. And I don't remember that being a thing in these books, that they were like above the 4 trees. Lionheart says, "Wind Clan governs the high ground ahead of us, where the sun sets. You won't be able to catch their scent today. The wind is blowing towards them, but you'll learn it soon enough." And Greypaw says, "Shadow Clan holds power over there, in the darkest part of the forest." Now, I'm looking at the map, and I have no idea how Shadow Clan is the darkest part of the forest when there is one tree that looks like it's dead or at least missing its leaves in this illustration, whereas ThunderClan is like the only clan that has forest. All the other clans look pretty bare. So isn't ThunderClan the darkest part of the forest? Or the only forest at all? So I'm just confused about that. Maybe because ThunderClan is higher up, it like casts a shadow over ShadowClan. I'm not quite sure. Greypaw says, "The elders say that the cold winds from the north blow over the ShadowClan cats and chill their hearts." Okay, so we're getting those stereotypes of demeaning the other. "So many clans," Firepaw exclaimed. "And so well organized," he added to himself, remembering Smudge's lurid tales of wildcats wreaking terror in the forest. "You see now why prey is so precious," meowed Lionheart. "Why we must fight to protect what little we have." "But that seems foolish. Why can't the clans work together and share their hunting grounds instead of fighting each other?" Firepaw suggested boldly. "Thank you. Yeah, let's share and be kind to one another." A shocked silence greeted his words. Tigerclaw was the first to reply. "That is treacherous thinking, kitty pet," he snapped. "Don't be too fierce, Tigerclaw," warned Lionheart. "The ways of the clans are new to this apprentice." He looked at Firepaw. "You speak from your heart, young Firepaw. This will make you a stronger warrior one day." Tigerclaw growled, "Or it might make him give in to kitty pet weakness right at the moment of attack." So I love this passage because it's showing kind of the range of political opinions that we even see today, where it's like the person questioning society, well, I guess the cat, but hi. The person questioning society, the person saying, "Don't question it, your empathy makes you weak," and the person saying, "That's nice that you have empathy, and it'll make you better, but also I still agree with how the system works, and I don't want to change it or question it." So, yeah, I can very much relate to Firepaw in this moment. Hi, Lucky. Lionheart says, "The 4 clans do come together peacefully in a gathering each moon. Here," he bent his head towards the 4 mighty oaks below, "is where they meet. The truce lasts for as long as the moon is at its fullest. Then there must be a meeting very soon, Firepaw suggested, remembering how bright the moonlight had been the night before. Indeed there is, answered Lionheart, sounding impressed. Tonight, in fact. The gatherings are very important because they allow the clans to come together in peace for one night. But you must understand that longer alliances bring more trouble than they're worth. Hey, Lucky, I want to make sure you're not pausing my recording here. I love you, Lucky. How about you sit in my lap and not on a computer? Please don't bite me, Lucky. Please don't bite me. Ouchie. Okay, good. It's still recording. Ow! Lucky. I've been trying to train Lucky not to bite as much, and it has been difficult. He's not trying to hurt me, I don't think. He's just wanting attention. I'm sorry I'm not paying attention to you right now. I'm trying to record a podcast. I love you, Lucky. It is our clan loyalty that makes us strong, Tiger Claw meowed in agreement. If you weaken that loyalty, you weaken our chances of survival. Firepaw nodded. I understand. And then they keep moving. They pace along the ridge of the valley where Four Trees stood. Okay, so I guess Four Trees is in a valley. So maybe all the clans are kind of above Four Trees. Now they were heading away from the sun as it began to sink in the afternoon sky. Firepaw sniffed the air. A new cat scent touched his mouth glands, strong and sour. Which clan is that? He asked. Shadow Clan, answered Tiger Claw grimly. We are traveling along their border. Keep your wits about you, Firepaw. Fresher scents mean that a Shadow Clan patrol is in the area. As Firepaw nodded, he heard a new noise. He stiffened, but the other cats kept up their pace, heading straight for the ominous rumbling. This is the Thunder Path, meowed Tiger Claw. Firepaw could see a gray path like a river, cutting its way through the forest. The hard gray stones stretched ahead of him so far that the trees on the other side seemed blurred and tiny. Firepaw shuddered at the bitter smell that rose from the path. Next moment he leapt back, his fur bristling as a giant monster roared past. Firepaw had seen paths like this before near his old two-leg home, but never this wide, nor with monsters so swift and fierce. So this makes me think they're next to a highway, or at least a very busy street. Scared me too the first time, remarked Graypaw, but at least it helps to keep Shadow Clan warriors from crossing into our territory. Okay, my phone ran out of storage, but I'm back. So I was talking about the Thunderpath keeping them from Shadow Clan territory and vice versa. And I was wondering, how does Shadow Clan get to Four Trees for the gatherings? Because the Thunderpath also goes between them. But then, looking at this map, I just noticed there's like this tunnel. So I wonder if Shadow Clan goes through that tunnel to get to Four Trees. It's time we return to camp, meowed Lionheart. You have seen all our boundaries now, but we'll avoid Snake Rocks, even though the way around is longer. An untrained apprentice would be easy prey for an adder, and I expect you are getting tired, Firepaw. So we do see the Snake Rocks on the map. So they go back to ThunderClan camp. Freshkill is waiting for them, and Firepaw and Graypaw take some over to the tree stump near the apprentice's den. Dustpaw and Sandpaw were already there, munching hungrily. Hi there, kitty pet, mewed Dustpaw. Enjoy the food we caught for you. Who knows, you might even learn to catch your own one day, sneered Sandpaw. Are you two still on hunting duty? Asked Graypaw innocently. Never mind. We've been patrolling our territory borders. You'll be glad to know all is safe. I'm sure the other clans were terrified when they smelled you two coming, yelled Dustpaw. They didn't even dare show their faces, retorted Graypaw, unable to hide his anger. Well, we'll ask them tonight when we see them at the clan gathering, mewed Sandpaw. Are you going? Firepaw blurted out, impressed in spite of the apprentice's hostility. Of course, replied Dustpaw loftily. It's a great honor, you know. But don't worry, we'll tell you all about it in the morning. I find this dialogue between the apprentices to be quite amusing. And I'm curious how Dustpaw and Sandpaw earned the honor of going to the gathering, like what qualifies someone to be able to go. A loud call from Blue Star indicates that it's time for the clan party to leave for the gathering, and Dustpaw and Sandpaw go over to join the other cats. The assembled cats stalked out of the camp entrance in single file with Blue Star at the head. Her fur glowed like silver in the moonlight, and she looked calm and confident as she led her clan to the brief truce between old enemies. I love the way the books describe Blue Star. Have you ever been to a gathering? Firepaw asked Greypaw. Not yet, but it won't be long now, just you wait. All the apprentices get to go sometime. When they finish eating, they go back to their den and fall asleep. The next morning, they go to the Sandy Hollow quietly because Sandpaw and Dustpaw are still asleep. This time, Ravenpaw is joining them. Greypaw tells Ravenpaw to cheer up because he looks miserable, and Ravenpaw says, I suppose I'm just worried about my shoulder getting hurt again. At that moment, Tigerclaw emerged from the bushes, closely followed by Lionheart. Warriors should suffer their pain silently, growled Tigerclaw. It's giving boys don't cry. Please, Tigerclaw, shut up. He looked at Ravenpaw straight in the eye. You need to learn to hold your tongue. Ravenpaw flinched and dropped his eyes to the ground. Tigerclaw's a bit grumpy today, Greypaw whispers to Firepaw. Lionheart says that today they're going to practice stalking, and he says there's a difference between stalking a rabbit versus a mouse, and asks, can you tell me why? Greypaw says, because a rabbit will smell you before he sees you, but a mouse will feel your paw steps through the ground before he even smells you. Now, I find this interesting. It probably is a true thing about hunting mice and rabbits, so you can tell the Erins did their research. Lionheart says that's correct, and then he asks, what must you bear in mind when hunting mice? And Firepaw suggests, step lightly. And Lionheart says, quite right, Firepaw. You must take all your weight into your haunches so that your paws make no impact on the forest floor. Let's try it. And they practice their crouches, and Lionheart says, nicely done, Greypaw. And Tigerclaw says, keep your rear down, Ravenpaw. You look like a duck. Now you try it, Firepaw. He's so mean to Ravenpaw. And Firepaw practices his crouch, and he feels very proud of it. But then Tigerclaw says, well, it's obvious you know nothing but softness. You stalk like a lumbering kitty pet. Do you think dinner is going to come and lie in your food dish and wait to be eaten? Lionheart says, his pace and forward movements will come later, but his crouch is perfectly balanced. Which is better than Ravenpaw, I suppose, complained Tigerclaw. Even after 2 moons of training, you're still putting all your weight on your left side. And Firepaw blurts out in defense of Ravenpaw, his injury is bothering him, that's all. Thank you, Firepaw. Being nice. Tigerclaw says, injuries are a fact of life. He should be able to adapt. Even you, Firepaw, have learned something this morning. If Ravenpaw picked up things as quickly as you, he'd be a credit to me instead of an embarrassment. Imagine being shown up by a kitty pet. He's so rude. And then Greypaw, in typical Greypaw fashion, tries to ease the tension with some humor. He says, well, I'm more lopsided than a one-legged badger, breaking off from his careful stalking to stagger comically across the clearing. I think I'll have to settle for hunting stupid mice. They won't stand a chance. I shall just wander up to them and sit on them till they surrender. And then Lionheart scolds him and says he should concentrate, and then he says, perhaps you might focus your mind better if you try out your stalking for real. And so they send Ravenpaw towards the owl tree, which is on the map, and they send Greypaw over to a bramble patch, and Firepaw over to the dry bed of a winter stream, which I think I do also see on the map here. It's one of these streams. And Firepaw can tell it leads to the river in Leaffall, but for now it's dry. And then he smells mouse. Wild energy surged through him, but he remained motionless, trying desperately to pinpoint the prey. Later it says, Firepaw shifted closer, remembering to keep his weight on his haunches until he was within striking distance. Then he pushed back hard on his hind paws and sprang, kicking up sand as he rose. Now this, like with my cat, how he chases toys, this description is so accurate. The mouse raced away, but Firepaw was quicker. He killed it with one sharp bite. He goes back to the hollow where Tiger Claw and Lionheart waited. He had made his first kill. He was a true ThunderClan apprentice now. And that is the end of Chapter 5. Okay, we made it to the end of the episode. Once again, I'm proud of myself for filming this and doing it because it's hard to have motivation. I have a day off, or well, not a day off. I had a day off yesterday, and I was trying to get motivated to record this. Didn't get to it. Today I don't work until later in the day, so I was woke up and I'm like, let's do it. Let's record the podcast. Because I really want to do it, and when I'm doing it, I enjoy it. It's just starting that's always difficult. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed listening. If you are here, and I hope I'm bringing the joy of the Warrior series to anyone out there who wants to be a part of that. So, thank you so much for listening and or watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and I will see you next time. This has been Into the World of Warrior Cats.